The following podcast contains strong language. Welcome back to the Ciné Rambles podcast. You're listening to Nick,
And Andrew.
and we're here with your fortnightly fix of film-related ramblings, as always.
And hopefully you can hear us okay.
Hopefully. Not that my internet connection's any lesser than last fortnight. Nearly said last week, but that'd be very hopeful.
Yeah, it's not quite that regular.
No. Well, hang on. It's regular. It's just not that frequent.
True. Oh, you've got me there.
Pedantic process strikes again.
Oh, he's very pedantic.
Right. Well, before we get on to our main topics of the week, I'm going to quickly open the show with a recommendation. Going back to Field of Screams. Not Field of Screams, the other one. Field of Dreams. That's the one.
If you build it, they will.
Yeah, if you build it, they will come. Who thought it was a great idea to name two segments basically the same thing?
I don't know. No, stream terms, Nick.
Oh yeah, Stream Tams. Sorry, we're Stream Tams now. That's the official thing. That's definitely not a dead meme at all.
Mm-mm.
I think that was dead when we came up with that for the for the segment.
A meme can never die. It's the best.
Right. Anyway, Stream Tams. So there is a new Netflix show called Lupin.
Lupin.
I think I pronounced that right. Lupin. I think it's spelled Lupin. But it's
I thought it was called Lupin, just because I didn't realize it was French.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's French rather than Belgian. Belgium, Belge, whatever. It's French. Yeah, so this is on Netflix. It's currently 5 episodes, although I think there's another 5 coming soon, so sort of labeled part 1.
Okay.
But so this is it's a new drama with Omar Sy of Untouchable. You'll know him from.
He is in other stuff as well.
He is. He's quite a prolific French actor, actually. I think.
Yeah.
I now can't think of any.
He's been in some Hollywood things quite recently as well, I think.
Oh yeah, he was. Can you remember what it was?
No.
No. Oh well.
Oh, he was in Call of the Wild.
Oh yes, he was. Yes, because I remember we recognised him.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone who likes things like Ocean's 11 or like sort of the last sort of half of Silence of the Lambs, anyone who likes that kind of satisfaction, like, oh, that was clever. It's full of those. Every episode has some kind of sort of element of that in it.
Apparently the audio dropped out, and I don't know when it dropped out, but it's back now. So I'm going to summarize. I'm going to summarize what Nick said, just very briefly.
What, you've not even seen it?
No, I haven't. It's got,
you'd like it.
It's got he was in Jurassic World.
Omar Sy.
Yes.
Oh, was he in Jurassic
World? He was called Barry. So it's got
great. Okay.
It's got Barry from Jurassic World.
Not Barry from Barry. That's
no.
Well, you might
easily confused. It's got Barry from Jurassic World in it, and Barry goes around France.
Yes.
Paris.
Yeah.
And he nicks stuff in heist-like fashion every day.
Doesn't things. That's kind of the genius of it. Well, yeah, he's basically trying to avenge his father's wrongful imprisonment. It's so the great thing is that all the heists, they aren't all necessarily like thefts, but for example, there's like a prison break he does in one of the episodes. Not like everyone, but just him getting out of prison.
Right.
Which is, you get a sort of a little heisty kind of sort of subterfuge, sleight of handy kind of thing. It's very good, sort of Now You See Me-esque, but better.
Okay.
You know, more grounded. But yeah, no, it's I'm really enjoying it. I'm three episodes in. Yeah, 3 episodes in. Watching it with my dad. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who wants that kind of thing.
Cool.
And I think you'd like it as well, Andy. You should watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I might give it a go. I was tempted to watch it the other day, but I decided to watch Narcos instead.
Oh, okay. Is that good?
It's very, very, very good, yeah. But it's
nice.
It has this thing. It's amazing. More for what it's depicting, like, because it's based on this true story, and the story itself is insane, just absolutely insane. Like, just, I mean, I want to say unbelievable. They literally have this thing at the beginning, like, I can't remember the term. It was like dream-like reality or dream reality or something. It's like when something is so unbelievable, you just literally cannot. It couldn't have happened in real life, you know, or it feels like it couldn't have happened in real life because of it's so ridiculous, and it's like that just happened in Colombia in the 80s.
So this is about Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
Is it that kind of?
Yeah. So it centers around Pablo Escobar and some of the other of the like members of his cartel. And then on the flip side, it's a DEA agent called Walker, maybe, and his
because he walks everywhere.
Yes, and his partner, who is the Mandalorian. I can't remember his name.
Pedro Pascal.
Yes, Pedro Pascal. And it's about those two. So Walker is like this, you know. I think he started his career in Florida, you know, doing weed busts, and then he like moves to Colombia because he's assigned to the cartel case, and it's sort of, you know, about his descent into the culture and trying to stop this, but, you know, the insanity that was Pablo Escobar and the cartel is just, it's insane. But also the amount of money they made is mad. Yeah, it's it's not really spoilers because it happened in real life. But, you know, I think in the second, yeah. But in the second episode, it says, like, you know, they were shipping enough cocaine to the US and around that whole continent that they were making $5 billion a year.
That's a crazy man. That's why he had like massive palette of like tigers in
there. Yeah, he built his own prison. When he was arrested, for real, he was charged with this. We haven't seen this bit in the show. I just know this happened in real life.
Yeah.
When he was arrested, because obviously he bought every single official ever, you know, every policeman, the complete set. He had everyone in his pocket. For these really like serious crimes, they charged him 5 years, and they let him build his own prison, which was literally it was like a villa. You know, it had a swimming pool, and he wasn't allowed to leave the premises, but the premises was like 300 acres or something insane, you know.
Yeah.
So he
could always get around that.
Yeah, but also, you know, all of his men that were also like arrested for murdering people and shooting people just came to stay in his prison because it was a mansion, and it's just mad. But yeah, the show's really, really good. I strongly recommend.
Yeah, that's one of the many on my list.
Yeah. Anyway, that's some recommendations.
Yeah, bit of Field of Streams. Not done that for a little.
There you go. I want to recommend one more thing quickly.
Oh yeah, no, go for it.
I only just started watching it today, but I thought it was pretty good, and I think it might be worth a look in. It was called I Am a Killer.
Yes.
And it is a documentary series on Netflix where they interview death row criminals who, you know, they're on death row, so they have X amount of time to live, and they're just interviewing them about their life, the crime they committed, the sentencing, you know, how they've been treated, how they feel about the crime now that they've been put on and they know they're going to die. It's very, very harrowing. But
that's what you like after their work.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. It's very good to see, but also you get to see like the mindset behind these criminals, and I just think it's very interesting to see behind the curtain in a way, because it's very easy to just stamp everyone as, oh, he's a murderer, so you know he's a murderer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Whereas
and in the case
he explains why he, in the first episode, he explains why he's he explained the crime from his point of view. So he firstly he was like, oh, I was brought up in a very abusive household, and my dad would beat every single woman I've ever known, all of his stepmothers and etc. And he saw this every single time, and he was like, if we had had a gun in the house, I would have killed my dad to try and save those women. And then he left home and then started drinking himself because he was a bit of a waster, and then he started taking drugs, and then the reason he was in prison was because he went to a like a drug den to buy some meth or something, and he shot the meth dealer because the meth dealer tried to start a fight on him.
So what, like a self-defense?
Not really self-defense. He was like, well, they were arguing before, so, but he was like, I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like he knew that he would either shoot and kill the man who he was in a fight with, or he would have been beaten to death or whatever, or killed himself. So he was charged then, and then, to make matters worse, he then beat someone to death in prison. But we'll move on from that. But it was just very interesting to see how he started with relatively, or not good intentions per se, but at least some sort of moral compass that just slowly got worn away by constant exposure to drugs and violence. I just thought it was very interesting. You never get to hear about that side of the coin.
I mean, Death Row is it's a very unique kind of position to be in, to be like told, you are going to be executed, but you're going to wait for it, but it will definitely happen. So just having to sit there stewing in it.
It's it's weird that they don't sort of, I guess it's probably quite immoral to say, oh, by the way, we're going to execute you today, actually, in a couple of minutes, so let's go. But I think it's a lot worse when they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna have 5 years in prison and then we're gonna kill you.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I'm gonna be executed, I'll have it done like as soon as possible, kind of thing.
Well, it doesn't make I don't understand why they don't.
I think it's just bureaucracy, isn't it? Just like they can't just go and kill it. They've got to film paper.
Yeah. I suppose they've also got to potentially wait for new evidence as well. I would guess.
Possibly. I suppose it depends on the case.
Have you seen? Oh my god! Oh, what's that film called? The Chamber. Is it called The Chamber?
No, I haven't.
It's a Matt Damon version.
It's called that.
Oh yeah, we're back. Okay, well, that feels good. I don't know what's happening and why we keep dropping out.
Well. Anyway. So we have, back to the plot, Ashley Tucker, who has been cursed from having to deal with sort of a corrupted animal at his own
giant
home.
boar. Who has lots of worms coming out of his everything.
Yeah, he arrives sort of on the scene in medias res.
Yes, it's very breakneck opening.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. It was just I wasn't expecting there was. I don't know why, and I shouldn't have been doing this, but because it's Studio Ghibli, and I know they're sort of very, I don't know, they're not really kids' movies, are they? But they're more.
They're family films in the correct sense, in that they work for all ages for varying levels.
Okay, but I was expecting it to be more. I don't know why. Obviously, I've never seen any other Studio Ghibli films, but I was expecting
this is one of the more adult Ghibli ones.
Yeah, I was expecting Japanese Disney, basically.
Yeah, no.
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 Which I understand now, but I was expecting, that sort of very... the way Disney films sort of very ease you into it. They establish the characters, then they establish the plot, and then it rolls forward in a very easy to understand way. Whereas this was like, oh yeah, here's a guy. Oh fuck, there's a giant boar, and oh great, he's been bitten by the boar. And, oh okay, the boar's dead now. And then they speak to the wise woman. The wise woman's like, yeah, you're fucked, mate. See you later.
No, we don't want to see you again. Leave this town. Thanks for saving everyone. Now fuck off.
Yeah.
It's basically the opening.
I tell you what, I did find very interesting, which I only found out when I was looking it up today. It was adapted to English by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, what, the dub or? Yeah,
the dub.
Ah.
Or at least one of the dubs. I don't know how many there are, but it just said on IMDb it was like adapted for English by Neil Gaiman, which I think is interesting. It's a very Gaiman-esque story in a way.
I haven't read much Gaiman, so I can't confirm or deny that, but sure.
Well, it is very Gaiman-esque story in a way.
Well, should we get to the crux of it then? Did you like Princess Mononoke?
So it had the classic case of the Nicks, in that Nick,
before I watched
it, declared that it was one of the best films he's ever seen, and up there in his top ranking of his greatest films of all time, which of course, like every single film Nick suggests to me, puts it on a pedestal that when I then watch the film it doesn't quite reach.
I wasn't expecting you to watch it, is my defense. But I'm not. I mean, that wasn't hyperbole. Like I think not the last time, but the time before I rewatched it, I sort of just realized I liked it more than so many other films. Like, there's sort of so much to it I liked.
How many?
So, if I.
How many times have you seen it before you realized that?
2, maybe 3. No, well, I've only logged it 3 times on Letterboxd.
Okay.
So maybe it was the second time.
Because
it was like, it's one of these films that the more I talked to people about it, the more I realized, like, everything about it worked.
Right.
And I sort of couldn't. I tried ranking my favorite films a while ago, and I couldn't think of really anything that I thought was a better film. So it's all just sat there. I've kind of got it number 2 on Letterboxd.
Okay.
But I mean, it's absolutely love this film.
So,
and it sounds like you don't.
I thought it had some very, very good points. The animation is very good. The story I felt was frustrating.
Frustrating?
Yeah. In that there was no retribution.
For who?
For the bad guys.
Well, no, but I don't think that's really.
No, but
that's not really Miyazaki's style.
Okay, I suppose, but I don't know. It was just.
I mean, the retribution is that a lot of their men died in the climax, and they sort of learnt their lesson.
Not the right one. You know, the bloke with the weird nose.
Yeah, well, he's sort of a lost cause, though. He's sort of, the representation of the foolishness of the human race.
Yeah. I don't know. It was okay. I thought it was fine. I just thought it was very... and this might be a Studio Ghibli thing. It was very muted. And again, this might be the dub as well, but all of the deliveries of the lines was felt very like cold and emotionless. Also, this is definitely a dub thing, but whoever voices whatever her fucking name is, Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
But they call her something else. They call her Princess Mononoke once.
She has got an actual name.
And then she's never referred to it again.
No. Well, so the title, as a side note, it's supposed to... So the original Japanese is Mononoke Hime, which means forest princess, basically. And then they translate it to English and like, right, well, he means princess. Mononoke? Don't know. Let's not look at a Japanese dictionary. Let's just leave it as it is.
Okay. Right. Great.
So it baffles me that they didn't even think to translate it. So it's there. That's why it's called Princess Mononoke. It should be like Forest Princess.
So is she supposed to be like a child or like a teenager?
Yeah. See, I know you're going this because the voice actress sounds way too old. Considering
she
I think
sounds
she's
like a 50-year-old woman.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like 15, I think, or 16 maybe. But yeah, no, I know what you mean about that. See, normally, so basically, like in the early 2000s, I think it was, Miyazaki made a deal with Disney that they basically help handle the Western releasing of Ghibli's catalog. And at that time, they commissioned a load of dubs.
Okay.
And the Disney dubs are, for the most part, fantastic. Like, they're some of the best anime dubs there are. Like, credit where it's due. The Mononoke one's interesting because I didn't think it was that bad until you pointed it out. But I went back and listened to it, and you're right. It is more stilted than other ones that I remember.
It's just, you know,
I'd like to describe it as stoic, but
yeah, it's very like stoic. It feels just very withdrawn in a way, especially the main character.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Ashitaka. He is stoic though by nature.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of things. You know, he's in a fight, or he's having an emotional moment, and his tone just remains exactly the same at all points.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not really the film's fault as the dubs. So
yeah, I've never actually seen a Ghibli film with subtitles, so that'd be an interesting thing to compare.
Yeah. What I thought was weird was, and I think this is probably the point of it, was that no one was, other than the weird little fat man on his stills.
Yeah.
No one was inherently that, in the wrong or bad, if you know what I mean. Even
see this.
Go on.
This is leading up to what I think is the best thing about Princess Mononoke is it's an absolute masterclass in terms of morality and storytelling.
Yeah.
Because there are no bad people, besides Weird Nose person, who's sort of his own thing. But in terms of, like, factions, there's no bad and good. Like, even Lady Eboji, who is the antagonist, isn't a bad person as such. She's just trying to do what's best for her village. And she's sort of misguided. Yeah. This is sort of the ultimate thing of all of this is that, everyone, there's no, like, clear good or evil in this world like there isn't in our world. It's all shades of sort of grey of morality, of what people think is best, what works for them, what they want to have to do to survive.
Yeah.
And I like that, there's a great line at one point. I mean, the line itself isn't great. It's like, Mononoke shouts at Ashitaka, like, whose side are you on? Right near the end, it's like, and he goes like, I'm not on anyone's side. Because there are, the whole thing about taking sides is sort of detrimental to the point, especially when it comes to something like the environment.
Yeah.
It's not about sides. It's about we've got to work together. We can't have these divisions and just clear camps of, good and bad, right and wrong.
Yeah.
But I really like that sort of element to it, because the way it's structured as well with Ashitaka is this third party who comes in medias res and sees the sort of the conflict going on. And, he goes to Irontown, he sees what's there, and he sees their side of things. And then he goes off with Mononoke and sees the forest and the wolves and their side of things. Yeah. There's balance to it all. I really like in it, and that's one of the big driving forces behind it.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think, I think again, I can't help but compare it to, I don't know, like to Disney films, but I was also just other films. It reminded me of James Cameron's Avatar, in some
Avatar, yeah.
In some ways,
yeah.
It just in that man versus nature sort of way.
I was just thinking about that actually, because that's a good example of how Mononoke, what I was talking about just now with morality. It's like in Avatar. James Cameron's Avatar, not your normal Avatar.
No, it's very black and white, isn't it?
yeah, the humans are evil. They're going to destroy the tree because they want money. They're going to destroy everything because they want money. And the aliens are good because it's their tree and it's their life.
Yeah.
But Mononoke is not like that. It's like, well, we need to clear the forest because we need the industry to survive to get that. This is how our city needs to thrive. The forest is interfering with it. And on the other hand, the forest is like, well, your activity is interfering with our stuff. It's not, no one's right or wrong. Everyone's just got their own thing they're trying to do, and it's shown as that.
Yeah. Also, it's like they also sort of need the iron to defend themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Because there's the emperor and the other Japanese the samurai who are coming to, we see them early on in the film as well, like murdering a different village, and it's like this emperor is this looming threat, and so there's that sort of the lady, wherever her name is, Eboshi, she's just trying to not only she's trying to protect her people, but also thrive as well. I thought that was interesting. All I was going to say about it's had a very strange lack of music, and I don't know if this is a Ghibli thing again because I haven't seen any other things, but there were moments when it was like, and this was what really made me feel like it was very like stilted and muted in some points, was a lot of times in an equivalent thing, from a different studio, there would be emotional music that would be pushing you to feel a certain way. When he looks out across the forest, there'd be like, oh, this magical music to see, oh, look how amazing the forest is. Or there'd be something else, when he's having dinner with all the people, there'd be like, nice, happy, jolly music to say, oh, so you can see the positives of both. And there just wasn't that at all. And it made it feel very withdrawn. And I noticed this distinct lack of music when he's like, he's saying he feels this certain way about things, but we can't connect him as much because of without the music. I don't know. Music isn't that important, but obviously it is because it gives you a lot of emotional nudges in the right direction.
See, it's interesting that you come to that conclusion from it, because stuff like we have these majestic views, him looking out of them, there's no music. I like that because the view speaks for itself, and the animation in him was absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. And I think that's I feel that's a lot of Miyazaki's philosophy. Is sort of like, there is music in this and in other Ghibli films, but a lot of it's quite understated or sort of infrequent. But I think a lot of the time he sort of just lets things speak for themselves and their emotion. And I think, and going back to Evangelion, which we haven't gone to yet anyway, but going forward, but like that as well has a sort of sometimes forgoes music, and sort of the lack of music sometimes sort of lets you sort of really focus on what's really going on emotionally in the scene. And sort of narrow it down.
But I think in Evangelion, emotion and emotional turmoil and the mental happenings of characters are a lot more substantial and more important to the plot in particular, to the point where when there is a lack of music, it's a lot more significant, where it's like, for example, the train scene in episodes, we've just had these big battles where there's this really tense music going on, and they've got these musical stings for different characters and other things, and then just to have that like 3-minute long silence was very stand out and was like, oh shit, this is a very significant emotional choice and moment for this character. Whereas the consistent lack of music made me feel like, I don't know, it just wasn't, it didn't gel, or didn't make me feel the way that, it didn't provoke my emotions the same way that Evangelion did.
No, well, Evangelion is a very emotionally driven show anyway. Like, it's a very sort of internal narrative. That's probably not the right way to describe it. I know what I mean. But I mean, so what you're talking about there, like with the train station scene, that's the sort of a like punctuating silence.
Yes.
Which isn't that's like the extreme example of what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, Mononoke is again like it's just sort of a more subtle approach to it. But I think it's more like it's oh, this is the moment you want to be sad. We'll put sad music on. Now you are sad. Oh, this you need to be happy. We'll put happy music on. Well, Mononoke is more, you know, feel the emotion you want to feel. We will present the scene to you as it is, and you will feel honestly.
I found myself not, and this sounds pretty bad, but I just found myself not caring as much. I felt, you know, if you compare that to, I don't know, Lord of the Rings. You know, when they're walking, you know, through the forest and you see these amazing views and you get this very, very incredible score that really, and I mean this is saying because the music in Lord of the Rings is particularly excellent, but it really pushes you to feel the right thing. You know, you get that amazing sense of adventure when they're walking through the forest, or you get the sense of dread and the sense of doom, or the sense of pride from the armies, or the courage, the hope, you know, and it really gets you right in the feels with the music, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true, but I don't know, Mononoke sort of manages without.
Yeah, I mean, it's serviceable. I just feel like I don't know why the music is so important to me. It just feels like without it, I don't know, if they added a score. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm being I don't know, weird about it. I just feel like it would have impacted me more had there been a nice score to accompany it. It's just
why did you compose one?
Yeah, and you know what?
Of the music that was there, did you like it? Because there are some nice.
Yeah.
There's something an overture to it.
Yeah, and they have some. They do have music in like some of the tense moments, with like the boar. I tell you what, I could not stop thinking of. You know when there's like there's an army of boars. All I could think of was the 30 feral pigs to eat.
The 30 or 50 feral boars.
Yeah.
Or feral dogs.
Because, you know, that woman, she's like making guns ready and she's like, oh, I really need these guns. They're very, very important. And then there's this army of pigs. I was like, oh, she needs those guns for the 30 feral pigs that can appear on her borders at any moment.
Oh my god. You ruined it.
And then that's all I could think of through that whole scene. That's another thing, was, you know, that bit should be really emotional. You're literally seeing like this whole, you know, swathes of the boars and the people like die.
Yeah.
And it was just a much more emotionally detached than I feel like it could have been. I don't know. I do admire that, you know, letting you feel your whatever you want to feel rather than manipulating you through music. But it just left me feeling a bit unsatisfied by it.
Well, so another thing I really like about Mononoke is there's the sort of the world building of it. I really enjoy. I like how there's sort of all these different elements of the forest.
Yeah, so that's very that aspect is very gaming-esque.
Yeah, so I like one of my. It's weird. It's one of my favorite scenes because it's a very sort of small scene, but just after Ashitaka rescues Mononoke from Irontown, and he sort of collapsed, and the 8 people appear.
Oh yeah.
There's something about because there's something so mysterious about them. They don't really come back again, and they're not really explained. These dark shadowy figures with the red glowing eyes, and they have this sort of low droning voice, and there's something about it sort of signifies like this deeper world beyond what we can really sort of comprehend. That sort of just barely scratch that.
You were right there. The forest spirit does look very, very, very derpy.
Oh yeah, the forest god. Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah.
Oh my god, his face came out. I was like, what? He just looks so fucking dumb. It's just weird. Like, why didn't they just give him a normal, just, I don't know, like an exaggerated deer face rather than like a really. It wasn't human at all. It was just like a deer face but squished. It was just so weird. Right, we've been banging on about this for ages. Do we want to?
I want to mention, you know, the forest spirits, the little
Oh yeah, the little ones. Yeah.
Oh, I want to say Koroks, but that's Zelda, isn't it?
They're
so goddamn cute.
When they do the weird head thing.
Yeah, it goes little like.
Yeah.
I can't do the noise. Oh, they're adorable.
They're right.
Yeah. There's things like, you know, it's things like this. There's the wolf tribe. There's the pigs. There's all these different elements to it. It's like this real big breathing world. And like you said, like there's the whole empire on the horizon.
Yeah.
You know, there's a real sense of scale. Of like there are things ticking away that we don't see behind the scenes. And this isn't just like a stage, as it were. This is like a full-on world that has its own rhythms to it. I really love that element. That's one of my favorite elements of the film.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Because we've got 17 minutes in which to discuss.
All of Evangelion. Hang on, before we move on, what do you think we should talk about next week then? When we get, next time we do Andrew's film education.
I will watch Spirited Away.
Okay, we're doing this in the wrong. That's the one thing. I would say I would not have started you on Princess Mononoke. Okay. I think it's sort of, I don't want to say advanced Miyazaki, but I feel like it's certainly not the first introduction.
Right. I mean,
we'll do Spirited Away next time.
Yeah. Because as much as I slagged off Princess Mononoke, it was very easy to watch. Yeah, at no point was I like, oh, you know, this is dragging on, this is really boring. You know, it was well paced, and I thought, you know, it was very watchable. I watched it in 2 halves, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
That's good old pure animation as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Speaking of pure animation,
Evangelion.
Hey. Which we finished about 2 weeks ago, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. The fucking weirdest thing I've ever seen.
But you like it.
I do like it, surprisingly.
Which I'm very surprised at. I thought I was going to lose a friend after I showed you this.
Why?
I thought you were like, Nick, it's been 10 years, but you weirded me out. Goodbye.
Just stop. I don't understand it.
No.
I don't know if you're supposed to understand it, to be honest.
No, well, no. See, this is an interesting point, because I feel like it's a cheap way out of being like, oh, you're not supposed to understand it, man. Because it would be quite nice if you understand the story. But having said that, I do think there is an element of like, it's not supposed to make sense. That this is a story specifically about Shinji and his trauma and his development.
Shinji is 14? 15?
Yeah. And so it's like, this giant, like, Lovecraftian sort of, like, end of the human race and dealing with sort of the elder gods. It's beyond the scope of his comprehension, just as it's beyond the scope of ours.
Which is a very, very good way of reading it.
Because I don't know how deliberate that is, but that's how I've been interpreting it.
The other thing about what you said about it is cheap, it's very disappointing just to say, oh, you're not supposed to understand it. I would agree with that, right? If there was any possible way of understanding it at all without reading the fucking wiki page.
Yes, that is true. It's weird that there are, even on the basic level of what's going on, especially in the end of Evangelion, the theatrical film.
Are we doing spoilers? Should we give a spoiler warning?
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone hasn't seen Evangelion, we are going to start talking about basically everything. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to skip on to another episode because we'll probably talk about it. Yeah, well, yeah. So no restraint on spoilers for now. We can talk all areas accessed. That's not the phrase. All access pass. Whatever. Let's go.
I really like the first 18 episodes.
Okay.
And then
so that's line 18.
Wait, which 18? The point where it started to lose me was when he fully connected with the Ava 1 and disappeared into the suit.
That's 20. That's also the point I would. That's where I used to draw it as well. So this is common, I feel. So the first time I watched it when I was like 16, I was like, oh, I like the first few episodes where it's like a mech anime, and then when it gets really weird, it's rubbish. And then the more I've watched it, the more I've started to appreciate the later episodes. So I think that's understandable that you sort of draw a line there, because that's about where I would have drawn a line.
Because I feel like up until that point, it's very feasible to understand what's going on, and and it's very not necessarily easy to understand, but I had a grip. So I was on it. I knew what was happening. I knew where all the characters were, who they were, what the fuck was going on. And then you drop past that moment, and then it starts to just have these huge bits of massively important information and explanation for these concepts that are huge and very, very hard to understand. The explanation for them is crammed into one sentence, one throwaway sentence, or it's just not explained at all. That's where it really lost me.
It's quite funny rewatching it this time, because I was watching and hear a throwaway line and be like, oh, that's that. So that's when he mentioned it.
Yeah.
No, I can't see it.
Yeah. Especially later on when they also start mentioning things. For example, the human instrumentality. And so, I mean, on top of the series, there's the film End of Evangelion, which without, I would not have had a fucking clue what was going on.
No.
Because,
and with, you still don't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah. But they do this thing where they're like, oh yes, the Human Instrumentality Project, it's blah, 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 blah. And you're like, what? Sorry? It was what? And then, like, at the end of episode 26, they're like, oh, and that's Human Instrumentalities, folks. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it's just, that's it. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And, I mean, luckily you explained what the fuck was going on, somewhat.
Yeah. Which I just got from the wiki at some point.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, I think it's episode 25 specifically. So, in the first half of it, it ends with Gendo being like, Ray, let's go do something. And then it cuts to adverts. And we come back and Jinji's like, I feel really weird. And then someone's like, yeah, that'll be human instrumentality. And like, that's happened, has it? Compared to in the film, where the instrumentality process is like a massive thing that happens.
Yeah.
Like, a giant chunk of fucking like existential like horror.
Yeah.
Because the entire human race is just liquefied. And then the animates in an ad break.
It's just, yeah. And we discussed this when I watched it. Was like, why do we think this was happening? I was, I reckon they must have run out of money.
Yeah. So it's interesting
because we should explain why for those who haven't watched it. Basically, the last two episodes take place entirely within Shinji's head, and they start to reuse a lot of old animation. There's a lot of repetition and
sketches,
like sketches. Also, and in 26 they drop all the color. It goes to literally just to line drawings, flashes of text on screen, and there's no like, well, there is some proper animation, but it's much more much less of it than there is in the previous 24 episodes.
Yeah. So my potentially flawed understanding of it is the show was written, I think, more or less week by week. So as they went along, the common understanding is that it ran out of money. Apparently, that has been refuted, but again, I feel like that must be it, because you can see so at the end of each episode, after the credits, there is a preview of like next week on Evangelion, and I checked, and the preview for 24, sorry, the preview at the end of 24 for episode 25 shows animation from End of Evangelion. It shows Unit 2 fighting the mass production Avers, but it's in the early sketches, and so they haven't even finished animating it yet.
Okay.
So the content of End of Evangelion, I'm sure, must have been planned to be in the series, and then they couldn't do that big action climax with the money they had left, and had to just sort of summarize the sort of the instrumentality bit. But it's interesting because so the anime came out, and all the audience were like, "What? That's not a proper ending. We want a proper ending." And Anno then went and made End of Evangelion quite begrudgingly, but sort of with the idea of like, "Oh, fine, I'll make this big action climax you wanted." Like, well, it seems like you were already making it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my limited understanding of it. How much of that is completely true, and how much is speculation?
So I
don't know.
feel like I could have, instead of watching episode 25 and 26, I could have just watched the film and would have been completely fine. You know, probably better off than having watched the episodes.
I think the episodes are still important. The problem is there's no good way to watch them at the moment. Until now, or in 2 weeks' time, because I'm working on a fan edit. Because I'm an absolute nerd.
Yes, I see.
Yes. But I mean, there is content in episodes 25 and 26 that's worth watching, which doesn't really get recapped in the film at all. Like, for example, so in the first half of the film, Shinji's basically in a near comatose state for most of it, just locked in his head, sort of just mumbling and being dragged around. And episode 25, the first half of it, is showing what's going on in his head, which I think is quite crisp information.
Okay.
So if only some mad genius could cross-cut between what's going on in Shinji's head in episode 25 and the actual real-world events at the End of Evangelion. But which handsome bearded maverick would be able to do that with Adobe Premiere?
Oh, it's definitely this Paint Nick on screen.
Yeah, good old Paint Nick and his giant eye tumor.
Yes, I would like to call him Better Nick.
Wow. Okay. So is there a point of Evangelion talk? I feel like we need some kind of
right.
Is this a review? Is this
I don't know. Well, yeah, let's review. It is very complex. The actual mech action, if you're into that, is especially early on is great.
Yes.
There are some excellent, really, really tense, amazing, battle scenes. The moral compass of all the characters are very, very skewed, and it also happens to feature, and I kid you not, my least favourite character of anything ever.
In all fiction.
In all fiction. And she's supposed to be the good guy. Oh my god.
I can't believe you got through the entirety of End of Evangelion and still have no sympathy for her whatsoever.
No, she's the worst. She is the worst.
She gets mind raped by a cosmic monstrosity into a comatose state.
And then she's the worst.
While she can feel it.
By these worst, Nick.
She's a child.
I don't care.
Probably has bipolar disorder. Massive trauma in her childhood, and
Do you know who else had a traumatic childhood?
Everyone in this show?
Yes. And do you know what everyone else in this show isn't? A massive wanker. Well, I mean, they are, but less of a wanker than...
There is a massive wanker, if you know what I mean.
Ew. Oh, she's such a dick.
Well, the thing is with Ava in total, because it was commissioned to be just another mech anime, but Anno was basically sick of them and decided to make one that would essentially criticize and sort of satirize the genre. So I think a lot of these elements are supposed to be jabs at like the standard anime conventions. Normally there's like, firstly, for one thing, all the animes have like, shy male protagonists, and then all the hunky girls you can choose from.
Hunky.
Whatever. Like, so for example, it's like, in anime you have like, the shy, quiet girl. Is like, okay, well here's Rei, who's like a literal clone with half the personality of a human, because she's not really a real human. She's a vessel for a god. Fetishize all you want.
Also, is she technically his mum?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So she's, she's a clone of Yui, but she's also the vessel of Lilith, and I don't know how that works. I think
we may as well be speaking literal Japanese to people who haven't seen this show.
No, I've got this. She's a clone of Lilith.
But Lilith is
one
of two primordial gods.
Lilith and Adam are the two primordial gods sent down to Earth. No, Adam was supposed to come to Earth, but Lilith fucking beat him to it, and that wasn't supposed to happen. So Adam basically sacrificed himself with the spear of Longinus, because Lilith's spear disappeared somehow. So the human life generated from her, Adam sat in hibernation in Antarctica. And then Katsuragi expedition awakens Adam because they're idiots. And then Second Impact. I'm not going to try and explain this because we might be here forever.
Yep.
Back to my point. But then, so there's a thing in Japanese anime. There's the Tsundere, or it's the girl love interest who's sort of like really bitchy, but secretly deep down like, she just wants the main character. So there's Asuka, an absolute cow, who
she is the worst
character, but is also a pretty terrible human being at various points. And looks like her massive behavioral problems and mood swings are actually because of deep-rooted trauma, not because she's quirky.
Yep.
And so on, to save some time. But I think that's a big element of it. Is it's like it's taking these sort of conventions of anime and actually like, okay, well, what if this person really existed? How awful would they be, and why would they be like that? Answers trauma.
Yeah.
I do like that element of it. I do like the sort of subversion of that, and I think it's an interesting sort of criticism of fiction in general, and sort of the way characters are.
I understand like why. It's just she's the fucking worst. You know?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, she's pretty terrible. I'm surprised she's got quite the vicious reaction you've given her.
I just don't like as well the fan reaction to her. Like there's people are like, and it's fucking simpy weebs. Oh no, we can't say that on Twitch. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, well, there goes Ciné Rambles.
It's okay. I think it's not banned till the 22nd, so you can say it as many times as you want.
Oh, good. But it's funny that like the waifu wars subculture on Evangelion is one of the great missing of the points of almost any work of fiction. It's also the people who idolize Tyler Durden in Fight Club.
Yeah, but I just don't understand why people like her. She isn't likable at all. She has literally not a single likable aspect.
So I used to like her more. My opinion has changed a lot more on this watch through. I wonder if it is something to do with the dub, because she was somehow more tolerable, but I don't know.
I don't know. I recommend it. Just to wrap things up, Evangelion. Yeah, sure. I recommend it. It's not really like any other anime I've seen, but I mean, it is and it isn't, because it's this sort of satirical but also mental. It's very, very questionable at points, but it is good, and I think overall it's an experience. Is what I would describe it as. I think
the thing is, even if you hate it or love it or whatever, there's very little that's like it. So I think it's worth experiencing just to see what you can do with animation, to be honest. Because End of Evangelion is like one of the defining examples for me of pure animation.
Yeah.
Like the shit they achieve in that film. And like the use of live action as well.
Yes, that is particularly amazing. There is some very, very, very good animation. But they're using it to explore such vast concepts, you know, fourth dimensional concepts in some way, beyond human understanding, and using animation to try and sort of squeeze that into a way that we can understand. It's just it's very interesting.
That's I always say anything can be animated. This is what I mean by anything, literally anything, even like completely conceptual ideas can be animated. It can't be live action, really.
Yeah,
not easily anyway.
Well, I mean, that was a brief review, I guess.
Yeah, was that a review? I was just
really
yelling at Evangelion.
Yeah, it's a bit of a ramble.
A Ciné Ramble.
A Ciné Rambles. CinéRambles@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Go there now.
Now you've got the rebuilds to work for as well.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I'm quite happy to leave my Evangelion experience where it is.
Yeah, I mean the rebuilds they're all right, but I wouldn't say they're essential. I think, I mean, one's almost skippable because it's basically just the series again. 2 is worth a watch. 3 is where things get weird, and bad weird. But
bad weird. That's the least of good weird.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see your reaction to them. But you're not missing a huge amount by skipping them, to be fair.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's all we've got time for. We've gone over by a bit, but that's fine.
Oh well, it's fine. No one's watching.
This is true. Or 3 viewers. Woo.
Yeah, well, one of them's me, one of them's you.
Yep. I think Georgia's watching downstairs. Hi, Georgia.
Hello, Georgia.
So
she didn't even watch Evangelion with you, did she?
No,
she doesn't know what's going on.
No, she did not. Well, anyway, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time then, I guess.
Yeah. So you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CinéRamblesOfficial.
And on Twitter at Ciné Rambles.
Done the email already. Blog.
Say it again, Nick. Say the fucking email, Nick.
Email is cinerambles@gmail.com. And the blog is cinerambles.blogspot.com. Nothing coming out for a little bit. There will be a tenant review I've mentioned, but that might not be for a couple of months yet. I've got other projects planned. Not on the blog. But yeah. Fan edits. And catch us in 2 weeks' time here on possibly Wednesday, possibly Thursday. Who knows?
Possibly Friday.
Possibly Saturday.
Possibly never again. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.